Hey, welcome to the Shift Podcast, where inspiration meets leaders and leaders, as well as mentors and just the everyday person who don't care about titles. This podcast is all about elevating your mindset so that you can embrace your own shift. And I'm having inspirational people every week coming on to help us and share with us how they've shifted or how they've shaped and shifted their dreams into becoming a reality. Talking about inspiration, this is Warren, international coach, and in so many things, around what he carries. And I'm quite looking forward to this episode. And so let us in just introduce Warren Abrams. Thank you so much, fellow Cape Townian, South African.
Mike, thank you for that introduction. And look, thank you for having me. It's always a privilege and an honor to have a space to share a little bit of the story,
Mhm.
share a little bit of the journey, and
Yeah.
like you say, it's that space to hopefully help people turn their dreams into reality. And if my story
Mhm.
can help and inspire someone, that's sort of our mission here today.
Yeah, man. Yeah, just to take us back quickly, just a little bit of background from your context that people who don't know you, just give a little bit of background and then we'll get into that meat as well.
Yeah, obviously, as you probably can tell from South Africa, born and raised in Cape
Yes.
Town.
Yeah.
And then yeah, it's a sort of an interesting space and stage um in our lives there back home, how we grew up, where we're from,
Mm.
the adversity and the challenges we had to
Mm.
face back there. Back in the day, I was born in 83, so if the people that knows a little bit of the history of our country, there was some small
Mhm.
little issue called apartheid back in those days.
Mm.
We had to come through that, but probably also grateful for those because that those challenges and sort of stuff we faced back then shaped us,
Mm.
or definitely
Right.
shaped me for who I am today. I learned
Mm.
some pretty cool, resilient lessons, how to look at the world
Mm.
slightly differently, how to transform every situation that I encounter. So yeah, proudly South African. And
Mm.
I'm also a proud Brit, you know. I've spent probably
Yeah.
most of my adult life over here, so I'm classed as a plastic Brit, but I have to say I'm pretty proud of both those heritages. I've got a beautiful family now, two young kids, who's
Mm.
very much English, as you can imagine. They can't speak Afrikaans like we do. So yeah, proud of where I'm from. And like
Yeah.
I say, all those challenges I had to face back then, and grateful for my parents who instilled some pretty cool values in me. And yeah, and then and learning about the English or the British lifestyle, and it's
Yeah.
probably taken over most of the way I think these days. But
You're
that's a
right.
snapshot of the.
Yeah. No. See, you have you had an impressive career in your rugby, both as a player and coach, and you have a beautiful family, like you just said, who inspires your why on a daily basis. Share more about that, in terms of your family. You just mentioned a little bit about your family. How does your family help you on your journey?
Yeah, I mean, for the people that have kids, I suppose as soon as the first, I've got two beautiful ones, 6 and 3. Yeah, as soon as they come around, you start looking at the world completely from a different lens.
Yeah.
I think the motivation shifts, uh, yeah, the stuff that motivated me sort of pre-kids that becomes uh slightly different. Now the why has
Yeah.
grown into how I can give them perhaps a life that maybe I never had. But
Yeah.
also, I was sitting and thinking this the other day. I didn't jump on a plane until I must have been like 1920 or 20, yeah, probably 1920, the first time I flew and left South Africa. I just look at my
Wow.
kids, they're traveling all over the world. You know, they're only 6 and 3, and my daughter lives in San Diego. She's experienced all these different places where I go coaching. Um,
Yeah.
and I'm going, geez, I never had that, so
Wow.
you're trying to provide them a platform where they can excel in their own unique way. So yeah, so in terms of the why, you chase things slightly differently,
Mm,
properly from selfishly. I used to change my own individual dreams. Yeah. So
mm,
that dream is still alive, but now I'm sort of fostering new
mm.
dreams, helping
Yeah.
helping to young people navigate life and their emotions in their own sort of unique way. And then my wife I met in 2007, 2008. Actually, I met her in Kenya. She's English, but I met her in Kenya. Again, rugby.
Wow.
I'm so blessed for all these opportunities rugby brought
Wow.
my way. So rugby took me to Kenya, and that's why I met my wife randomly. Same place, same on the same flight at the same hotel.
Wow.
Uh, completely, completely random but fascinating story. And sometimes I always say, within an opportunity uh, there lies something, something lies there. Any interaction
Wow.
or within any interaction we have, there lies an opportunity there. And
Yeah.
so we just had to connect the dots, and we connected it beautifully. And what now, 15, 16 years
Wow.
later, we've got two kids. But yeah, she keeps me humble and she keeps me grounded, If the ego goes too big, she squashes it pretty quickly.
Yeah.
About egos, I've just
Yeah.
completed I've just been on a tour with sevens, and I always try and find a little space when I know when my head gets a little bit busy in between games. I try and
Yeah.
call the
Yeah.
family, just so I can get back to the present moment. And I obviously spoke to my daughter. First thing she said, "Why are you guys losing?" Right back to ground, humbles you immediately. Uh, so, look, I'm blessed to have my wife.
Yeah.
She's been everywhere from the highest highs to the lowest
Wow.
lows, and she's always the first person I call for
So
advice.
good.
And then yeah, like I say, she's always the quickest one to keep my feet firmly on the ground. So yeah,
Yes.
that's a little bit around the family, but that's the why. That's
That's
what
so
I'm
good.
chasing these days.
Yeah, it sounds like that romantic comedies. Do you know what I mean? Same hotel, same this, and like you're saying, in the opportunity, there lies something, there's treasure within the opportunity if we really look into it, and it's kind of like you found each other, same flight, same hotel, so like, it's just amazing. So quickly, you mentioned something about early days in South Africa, tell us about like how that has shaped you, your passion for rugby, your passion for how was that shaped?
Yeah, so this question always gives me goosebumps, because it takes me back to yeah, obviously being from South Africa, we just obsessed with the game. You
Yeah.
are literally just obsessed with it. But there's this special moment, and I always carry this performance picture with me wherever I go, or whatever, regardless of countries I coach or wherever. And it's this
Mm,
moment where Francois Pienaar hands over the Nelson Mandela hands over the
mm,
1995 Rugby World Cup trophy to Francois
mm,
Pienaar. Now, it might mean nothing to many people, but it's such a
mm,
significant moment in my life, in our lives, in 66 million other people's lives back in South Africa, and it's in that moment where I sort of went, hold on, there's people here that looks like me. There's a dream here that I want to play for the Springboks one day, but there was sort of this overwhelming feeling that I want to be in a position where I can help people, you know?
Mm,
And those that's the inspiring moment. So I always go back to that specific moment because I promise you, white and black and Indian
mm.
people and colored people, which is our race back in South Africa, we were all running together in the streets, you know, it's never
You're
happened
right.
before. And it's such a special moment that united everything. But in that moment, I knew I wanted to do something in rugby. I wanted to coach. I wanted to play. I had no
Wow.
concept about coaching, but I wanted I
Wow.
wanted that feeling of it was something of service, of helping. And then
Yeah.
obviously you had the great Chester Williams who become a good friend as well. You had Chester in there, and you go, man, and
Yeah.
you know my nickname was Chester Williams.
Gee.
Oh, you know, because he was my hero, and you marked
Yeah.
everything on him. So there was just sometimes I can't put it in words. I can never articulate it, but there was this feeling of, geez, I want that, and then it becomes obsession. You know, you start chasing and working and trying to
Wow.
achieve stuff. I never quite made it to the full Springbok stuff from a 15s perspective in and around the sevens. Um, but I knew I had this ability early on
Mm.
to help people, you know, and that's what I'm trying to do with my coaching. How can I
Wow.
unlock this human mind?
Wow. And this is the crazy thing, you're just taking me back as well, that 1995. I mean, we played against a very strong all black team. I mean, Jonah Lomo, man, Jonah Lomo was just running through people, and you would like with James Small at that time, and how they would just double up on him in the team spirit. And I remember, like you were saying, black, brown, Indian, whatever, we all were just flooding in. I remember in town, a white guy, big white guy, was saying, hey, club up my bucky, man, go, go, get on my truck and then let's jump and let's. And I was just thinking, like, what is this? And that whole thing has formulated that Ubuntu spirit, like I am because we are, And I think a lot of people from maybe from different countries don't understand the impact that had on all of us, because the Chester Williams was showing that this is possible. These things are possible. Nelson Mandela, Francois Pina, all of them were saying that what diversity looks like. We are not there yet, but we've experienced what a nation unified looks like, and that passion. And see that you're talking about your work as well. You've been your extensive coaching career with roles with the Harlequins Academy, England men's sevens, in America sevens for the women's sevens, Wales. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Let's go, Wales. 15s and sevens. You've been in Germany, Brazil. What are some of the most valuable lessons you've learned from these diverse coaching experiences? Because it's so diverse.
But when I think back and I sit and reflect, it always comes down to the same thing. It is it's the same person, different color, different culture, um, different moment, but
Mm,
we all have the same thing in common. We all want to
mm.
belong. We all want to be understood. We
Yeah.
all want to live our dreams. Um, and what I've been trying to do, I'm still working incredibly hard on it, is to really understand that each uniqueness of each individual person where I coach, and sometimes it's not easy. But like I say, we all want to belong somewhere.
Mm.
We all want that. So these people are all so vastly different, but exactly the same.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
it's really trying to understand their
Mm.
unique individual stories, and that's something I work incredibly hard on. Um, for instance, this I've just said to you, I've been out to Amsterdam this weekend, and I coached a team, and within that team, I had 8 different nationalities,
Wow.
in team, everyone trying to buy into a common purpose around. We themed it around attitude is everything, and we measured everything around our attitude. But it's so vastly different,
Mm,
but we all suffer with the same stuff around anxiety, depression, mental
mm.
health
Yeah.
issues. So for me, it's trying to look at the true human right in front of me. And like I say, I don't always get it right. I'm learning tough lessons and properly to answer your question with all those different countries. That is sort of really forced me to don't look at the big picture. I'm coaching this
Mm,
country and this country. I got to zoom into that micro bits. It's just still a person. It's still a human being. We all have the same
mm,
desires, It's just how can I help them within this specific moment. So that's been something I worked on really hard, to really, because I sort of can't look past that. Although I'm with the Brazilians where they speak Portuguese, and they're very animated and excited and very loving and tactile and friendly, you know. Um, but I find the same issues. Yeah, we have the same struggles over there.
right.
The same with the USA. Again,
Mm,
passionate people around. Um, Again, get very hyped up and excited and big on values
mm.
and those external motivators. You know how the Americans
Yeah.
are with big around those external stuff. So you take little bits, and then obviously out with the Germans, really fascinating, like mellow, strict, black and white. There's no gray there. But everywhere I go, I find the same issues, human behavioral
Yeah.
issues that we all struggle with. So my responsibility, how always is as a coach, is how do I help these young people, these athletes, the coaches around me, to really zoom into that micro bits, and you
Wow.
don't always get it right, but I'm giving you a long-winded answer, but to give you the
No,
answer, I think it's the same thing that I always find. So for me, it's the mission is how do I help these people um, with my coaching? And that's the only thing I can do.
yeah.
I'm lucky I've got rugby as this vehicle, but can I help them? You know?
That's in terms of, and also talk about like say philosophy, your coaching philosophy and your approaches, you know what I mean? In terms of like you are passionate about improving coaching and helping players reach their full potential. So how can you describe your coaching philosophy and how do you implement that into these teams?
Yeah, and I've properly evolved, and it's probably a good segue for the shift part. It's about
Mm,
evolving, or more and more as I've gone through my journey, I've evolved away from having a peer um, coaching philosophy. Like the textbook. The textbook suggests you need the coaching philosophy. I coach through my why. Yeah,
mm,
that's what drives me. So, and it's really simple. My why and the soul mission is how can I develop and support people? How can I make people better? And then
mm.
through my family, that's a big part of why I do what I do. So I can I,
I
I can
see.
I can provide a different platform. So those are my drivers now. So I'm sort of looking at it differently, and then I go internally to myself. I'm putting a lot
Mm,
of work into my own happiness,
okay.
for me it's around being, if I'm happy and I fulfill all the stuff that brings joy and meaning and purpose to my life, then I'm going to be in a better space to be able to deliver more efficiently, to help people and guide them to to find their own
Wow.
levels of oxytocin within in their
Mm,
lives, you know. So that's the sort of stuff that's driving me at the moment. Is I've spent a lot of time understanding happiness and really sort of working on that macronutrients that makes you happy as a person, because with all those stuff you become a better human being.
mm.
And then I can apply, you know. I always say if you want to help people, you got to start with yourself. You can only make
That's
people better if you make yourself better. So I have to find all those strategies that puts me in the best possible space where I have more happy moments within my life on a daily basis. And when I'm in that space, I feel in a completely different space when I'm on the grass. And then we
mm.
obviously look at the tactical, technical, all the rugby jargon stuff, you know. Feel
Mm.
coaching has gone to a position where or the world has shifted and evolved to a position where we have to look at coaching differently. We can't look at coaching this generic framework textbook that you have to coach in this way. You got to be able to flex and bend and blend into different styles.
Wow.
You know? So to go back to the start of the question, it's through the why. The why drives me. Um,
Mm.
and then it is all the little details that I need to get right to make myself to put myself in the best possible way to work through that why. If
Well,
I answer that question.
yeah, definitely. It's more person-centered, person-centered, person then player, person and player, person then coach. That's a really good, and it's again from, being from Cape Town as well. It's like what you're sharing there. It's because, like in Cape Town, we're not just playing rugby together, but we're hanging out together. We go to the shop together. That sort of thing. It's more doing life. And rugby is a part of it, but it comes you taking care of me as a person, and so I can be a better player, I can be a better teammate, that sort of kind of thing. And similar with me in my coaching, it is that person centered. I just came from school, and I was coaching a young boy to shift his mindset. How do you build confidence, break limiting beliefs, get clarity? But I've done this before with somebody else, but not like him. And so you have to hone in, what are the quirks, what are the, and try to find out that he's kind of like, oh, you're actually getting to understand me. And that's when they're beginning to open up. And that's where the shift begins to start. Another thing about what I really love about what you bring, it's the way, because I checked you on LinkedIn, the fun way of how you're making rugby. I love maybe because in South Africa I work with Come and Play. Come and Play in South Africa, where is the fun games, football, rugby is made fun, and you want to play it. How did you come up with that concept?
Look, life is a playground, isn't it? And we get so caught up and I'm there many times, you know, when it's about performance and winning and all those type of stuff at the at the elite level, when your job depends on it, when when the pressure gets on you, you know, as a head coach, as this and that, we get constrained and we get stuff sucked out of us, and this is probably the brutal realities that many people don't see about performance coaching is not always fun. It's
Mm,
you
no.
depressed. There's anxiety. It's you know, contracts come and go like this. You never
Mm,
at the same spot at the same time. So to bring one of the key macronutrients to happiness is enjoyment. Now,
mm,
when you remember, when you're in that flow state, when you do something where you've put the effort in, because that effort is going to give you a reward, and that reward is going to make you feel really good. So we have to find ways sometimes um to bring a little bit of joy to what we do. And again, like I said earlier, if I'm in a good, if
Mm.
I'm putting all this work into myself, I'm going to be in a good space so I can really come up with creative ways of
Yeah, okay.
looking at the same problem and just find a different
Yes.
solution
That's good,
to
man.
to just engage these
Mm.
people, these players. Like I'm working with a superstar player at the moment. Um, he loves our sessions, one-on-one sessions.
Mm.
He absolutely loves it because because he gets a lot out of it because he's different to what he gets on a daily basis. So it is just bringing something different. I give you an
Mm.
example. So this weekend, in with the Amsterdam, with this group of individual people, the first thing I did to build connection, to open up relationship, to find out different things about people. We played a little double, the double card, different images on the card. So we did some speed dating, and you can
Mm.
only ask questions based on this image. And the boys, so they do speed dating, asking questions, 30 seconds each, and then they go round, bam, so a proper speed dating session. And the amount of information we got from there, you got one
Wow.
who's a boutique dealer in Uganda. You got law students, you got a Fijian legend in there. You find out all these different stories. First girlfriend, where the all those stuff, mate, is loud. So that for me is we got to bring enjoyment to what
Mm.
we do. So I just look at things a little bit differently and spike them up.
Wow. So yeah, as we like come to a close, it's like what key pieces of advice would you give to anyone looking to make a significant shift in their career or their personal life? What advice would you give?
Uh, Everything starts with yourself. So find out the stuff that makes you excited. If you get excited there with something, you gotta delve in there and you gotta work out why it's making you exciting. But start with yourself. Then you gotta work out how to become a better human being. Focus on happiness. Go and cover that. Everything starts with yourself. If we want to make people better, it starts with yourself. So
Mm.
go and really reflect deeply on yourself and find strategies. I spend time around with this meditation, journaling, and I love being in the gym because that's where I get my buzz from, So because it helps
Mm.
making me feel good, and when I feel good, I'm at my very best. So
Mm.
number one, it starts with yourself. So find all the little small details there. You got to stay curious. You got to stay humble. That's what I always say. Stay curious. Ask a lot of questions. And yeah, just be humble, show a little bit of vulnerability about stuff. We don't need to know everything, especially in a coaching world, especially around leadership, we
Mm.
don't need to know everything. You find out what that person knows. And if you lead people, you got to know your coffee. I always say you got to know your coffee, yeah. So I
Mm.
presume you're a coffee drinker. So next time
Yes.
you take a sip of that cup of coffee, imagine where that bean comes from. What was the
Mm.
journey? What was the root? How did it become this beautiful cappuccino
Mm.
that I'm drinking? Yeah, there's
Mm.
some valuable lessons in uncovering that journey of the bean. So if you're a coach and you work with a young person, performance athlete, so imagine the journey they took to get to be in front of you. There's some valuable
Mm.
lessons in there. Um, and then yeah, my big thing is uncover happiness. Find the stuff that makes you happy, that brings you enjoyment, that
Mm.
brings meaning to your life, and that's purposeful to you. If you work on those skills, man, I promise you, it's a game changer.
Wow. Can you share like maybe some personal habits or practices that help you stay focused and maintain your positive mindset?
Yeah, so I I think the biggest thing, my mom always used to say when the going gets tough back home, And we had many of those moments. I don't come from much, you know. Um, she always used to say, never settle for your situation, you know. So I always look at it.
Ooh.
I always go back to that, you know, as hard as it was as a young bloke back then when your mum say, um, never settle for your situation. That's tough
Wow.
when you don't have much, you know.
Yeah.
So she always said that. So I try and the strategies that I like I say I'm a stickler for a routine. I've got I like if I get my morning routine down to a T, so that means I've got two kids, you know, so I've got to be up. I'm in the 4 a.m. club, I say. So about just after four, I'm in the gym, you know. We've got a little crew that does that every single morning that allows us to do that. And then it's going through that morning process, you know, whether it's a little bit of meditation, writing my thoughts down. Um,
Mm.
Again, these things are hard, still very hard for me, you know, meditating. I'm by no means skillful there yet. The writing in my notebook, my best mate gave me a journal properly about 3 years ago. I only just started using it because I did not know how to write, what to write, how to articulate my feelings. But you know, when you go through tough times in coaching, and I promise you, I had some tough coaching moments so far in my life, and I'm no doubt many more to come. Uh, but you got to go deep. You got to work out those little strategies, you know.
Yeah.
Uh, and those stuff keeps me sane, you know. This cool stat as well. Like on average, 7 hugs a day makes people happier. There's your challenge. Go and try and get seven
Eh,
hugs a day.
yeah, man. No, Warren, thank you so much, man. So for me, it's like just listening to you, I was thinking like everything that you have become and evolving and shifting and transitioning into comes from that founding, how you grew up and how family community is such a big part. And it's kind of like a pain, like you say, we know that performance based is about result driven kind of sport, Um, but you brought in that even the performance coaches desire to have fun. You know what I mean? It's like you might as well put fun in there because when that contract goes. And it's really amazing to hear because I'm speaking to so many professional coaches in football and so on. And I know, like, one moment you talk to them and then 3 months down the line, contract is gone and all of that. And they kind of like lose themselves in the process and all of that. And then you have to talk them through these things that you're saying. And it's just fascinating to actually now see what I see on LinkedIn. I'm like, man, I'm quite intrigued by how he is kind of like. And thank you so much for sharing your thoughts. And last question, what does the shift means to you? And I'm sure that there's going to be many shift and transitions in your life. What does the shift means to you personally and professionally?
Great question. It has just capitalized on that experience, you know. We spoke about it a lot this weekend. It's that memorable experience within there sits an opportunity. Um, and then it's just about finding that opportunity. You know, it's there. And then when you find that opportunity, then you got to connect the dots. So every like I gone through a tough time when I coached Wales, when I finished there. But the lessons I've learned there has transformed the way I think. So tough situation, tough experience, opportunity. Took me a while to uncover it, but I've opened it up and I think I've become a better human being. So that's the shift that they're going to come around. You know, that experiences come, they go, just don't miss the opportunities.
Oh man, Warren, thank you so much, man. I'm inspired by you, and thank you so much for what you're doing. And I know that maybe as time progresses, if you could come on the podcast again and talking about a different shift, that'd be fantastic. And so I just wanted to wish you everything of the best for the future, and your team and your family and everything, all your endeavors, man. And so thank you so much.
Now, thank you for having me, mate. Keep up the good work and yeah, keep inspiring, keep helping
Oh,
people. finding that reality to their own little dreams, you know?
Oh,
Good.
thank you, man. Yeah, man, that was this amazing episode with Warren. And I wanted to say to all of you, keep elevating your mindset and embrace your own shift and take the opportunity and seize the moment. Catch you on the next episode of the Shift Podcast. Peace.